The Illinois Legislature heading back to the Capitol for the lame duck session. What is lame duck session? Well, there are lawmakers that didn't get reelected, and the last few days they can get their priorities passed. But what exactly is going to come up? What do you want to see happen, or what do you hope does not happen? Would love to hear from you. 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. Again, you can always chime in live and local at the phone number 217-629-7970. Or you can email me, bishoponair@gmail.com. Follow me on all the social media. Just search Bishop on Air, and we can connect that way. But a lot going on at the State House. We've already had conversations on a couple of those issues. If you missed those conversations, then be sure to check out my Twitter page or my YouTube channel is probably the best place to find some of those conversations. Again, just search Bishop on Air. Like, subscribe, hit the notification. That way you can stay up to date what's going on. But we heard from Todd Vandermeide, a gun rights advocate, talking about House Bill 5855. That's the proposal that could lead to the prohibition of future sales of certain types of semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and pistols, but also the prohibition of possessing certain magazines of more than 10 rounds. Now, Vandermeide told us earlier this morning that he's hearing that that particular aspect could be amended to go from prohibiting 10 rounds or more to 12 rounds or more. That doesn't really solve the problem. There are handguns out there with a standard magazine capacity of 14 rounds in the magazine. Let alone, it seems pretty standard with certain types of semi-automatic rifles that you can get a 30-round magazine. So that's very much going to be on our radar as we watch that play out at the Illinois State House. So lawmakers come in for lame duck session today. They have until January 10th to pass legislation. After January 10th, the new General Assembly is seated, and then they start over from scratch. So the thousands of bills that have been filed in the past 2 years, they're done with. They go poof into the air, and then they have to start over from scratch. So you'll see a whole bunch of new legislation filed January 11th and thereafter. And we'll, of course, be on the ground at the Capitol here in Springfield to watch all of that. So be sure to follow along, again, with Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, definitely YouTube. Subscribe there and stay up to date. So the gun issue, obviously, is going to be top of mind for a lot of you. If you want to sound off on that, you can. 217-629-7970. But you also have a variety of other issues that are coming up. We talked with Lisa Ellis from the Illinois Grape Growers and Vintners Alliance about a proposal to drop the winemakers fee from $1,250 annually to $750 annually. That would still be higher than what it is in Missouri at $300. That's capped in that state. But that's another issue that could come up. Another issue that is expected to possibly come up deals with the pawnbrokers and whether or not they can do short-term loans at a certain rate. So we'll get to that in here in a bit. But first, of course, your phone calls at 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Hey, if everybody also noticed, gas all of a sudden just jumped up because the, infinite wisdom of the state government and federal government, they, levied the tax that they doubled to save us money, and it expired January 1st.
Yeah, so if you remember back in 2019, it was a bipartisan bill that passed, but it doubled the state's gas tax from 19 cents to 36 cents, but it also added on an annual increase tied to inflation. So the doubling of the gas tax in 2019, it increased per inflation in 2020. In 2021, it increased, and then in 2022, it was supposed to increase July 1st. That did not happen. Lawmakers postponed that for January 1st of this year. But here's the deal. It's not just that increase you're going to be hit with this year. There's another increase that's going to happen July 1st of this year. So you're going to get hit with two gas tax increases this year, 6 months apart.
Yeah, and what was that sticker for? Because now it's
Oh yeah,
obsolete,
those stickers
right?
they can take those stickers off. I tell you, the gas stations I've been going to, it's hit or miss if those required stickers were there, and they were possible to get a $500 a day fine. The gas stations would have
exactly,
but I reached out time and again to the Department of Revenue and asked them over the span of several months, in the past 6 months, if they have issued any fines, and they said they haven't. So why put that in the law? I don't know. Regardless, no fines were issued to my knowledge. So, yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's definitely Happy New Year, paying more for gas taxes. But that's not necessarily something that's going to come up at the State House. But what could come up is the proposed gun ban. We'll be watching that closely. A measure to deal with wine taxes, but also a measure that could deal with pawnbrokers and how they can offer up certain types of loans. Now, Kelly Swisher, he is with the Pawnbrokers Association in Illinois, and he says that people don't really know how they operate, and they don't understand the pawn business. Here's Kelly Swisher talking briefly about that.
If you regulate us out of business, you are leaving a segment of the population with nowhere to go.
But State Senator Jacqueline Collins, who has this measure she hopes to get through both chambers of the General Assembly, says that they need to cap these interest rates.
Research shows that putting money in consumers' pockets is good for the community and local economies. It creates jobs and reduces the need for emergency cash.
So another issue that's likely to come up at the Illinois State House, and you've got just a handful of days to act on all of this legislation. There could be also some appointments of executive offices that the governor has appointed that could come up. You're likely going to hear a lot of points of personal privilege, especially recognizing the late State Senator Scott Bennett, who passed away last month, just a few days after the end of fall veto session. You've got some new lawmakers that are there temporarily, including the replacement for State Representative Tim Butler, who is going to be replaced by Jason Huffman. He's already taken the oath, so he'll be there for the duration of lame duck session. But then you've also got the next General Assembly for Tim Butler's old seat, who's going to hold that position after January 11th. So a lot of things are going to be happening this week on into the weekend. They're scheduled today, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I've got to be up on Saturday to watch all that happen. That's going to put a crimp in my weekend. But then Monday at the Bank of Springfield Center, you've got Governor J.B. Pritzker and the other statewide constitutional officers swearing in for their inauguration. So that'll happen Monday. And then you've got Tuesday session, and then Wednesday is when the new General Assembly will be seated. And then they're essentially going to be taking the following 2 weeks off to come back January 31st, rather. And that's where you're really going to see some things pick up for the new General Assembly. So we'll watch all of it closely and be bringing you the highlights here each and every morning with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. I'm Greg Bishop, and you can follow along Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Just search for Bishop on Air, and we can connect.